Happy 2024. Hopefully you're gonna have a good one, guys. We are starting out the week or the year with a 4.3 magnitude earthquake that was 12 miles off the coast of Rancho Palos Verdes around 8:27 a.m. in LA, and I felt it this morning kind of right when I was waking up late. So that's how we kind of started today. But it's okay. We're all good. It was in the ocean, like 12 miles off the coast. So whatever. I did hear little sirens right after, unfortunately, but there was only once, so it seems like the majority of things should be all right. Hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully everybody's all right. Today's the last day of Kwanzaa, first day of the year, last day of Kwanzaa. But we're gonna talk about days 6 and 7, not just the last day, which is 7. So day 6 is Kuumba. That was New Year's Eve. And day 7, New Year's Day, Imani. So Kuumba means creativity. Imani means faith. Alright, so day 6 focused on creativity. Makes use of our creative energies to build and maintain a strong and vibrant community. I think in this day and age, it is a little bit easier to share creativity. It's easier to find events. It's easier to make events. It doesn't have to be some large-scale thing. Just communication in general, as far as planning and stuff, is easier. You can post announcements and flyers or whatever on Facebook to the people in your groups and Instagram. You know, you can plan. I have a friend who plans, and they basically post on their own wall, like, hey, we're going to go to this winery. There's 10 seats available, you know, and then they put, like, the price and the day and time. And then if people want to contact them, they can just contact them and show up, and that's that. They just create events like that. And, you know, not everybody does wine tasting or whatever. Like, it can be anything. You know, game nights, whatever. People can use Meetup as well, if you don't mind, like, random people coming. I don't know for meetup.com if you can just make it, like, private invite only and then send it to your own people only. I don't really know how that works. But yeah, it's kind of easier nowadays to plan stuff for free, like to kind of get the word out for free. You don't have to pay for mail. You don't have to, it doesn't rack up a phone bill to call a bunch of people. You can send out a text to a group of people, kind of get a group text going and have everybody kind of in there communicating and whatever that looks like. But what does it look like for you? You know, what does creativity look like? You know, and how do you use it to build and maintain strong and vibrant communities? I'd say for me, usually it is just like texting. That's probably one of the easiest ways. There's some group texts, you know, podcasting, blogging. That's kind of a wider reach. You know, most social media platforms. But then there can be kind of like a smaller knit community where you can text with them or be on WhatsApp. That's pretty nice. Imani for day 7 for the end of Kwanzaa focuses on faith. Focuses on honoring the best of our traditions. draws upon the best in ourselves and helps us helps us strive. I'm reading without my glasses on. Helps us strive for a higher level of life and for humankind by affirming our self-worth and confidence in our ability to succeed and triumph in righteous struggle. So faith, it looks at traditions. What kind of traditions do you have? It doesn't have to be like some deep tradition. Some people, their families meet up on Sundays. Some people, their families meet up on Saturdays. Some people's their families meet up the first whatever day of every month. And if your family never meets, or if you don't have family, if you don't have friends, you can make friends and meet people and have like a certain day where you meet. I used to have this tradition with friends. We would meet up every Wednesday during the week, because we all had a late day on Thursday. Just with certain people. It wasn't like every single person, and we would kind of invite other people, but usually it was, amongst ourselves. So drawing upon the best in ourselves, that's kind of more purpose focused, right? Like you're meeting up with more of a purpose, helping strive for a higher level of life for humankind. How do you guys see the level of life for humankind right now? Like, how is quality of life? I mean, I think there's a little hype around this new 2024 new year. In a way, that's good. I think that's good that people are getting back into talking about resolutions. I've heard a lot of people talking about goals and stuff, whereas I've mentioned it in the recent past, where, people have gone so far away from even wanting to make resolutions. It's become more popular to be like, for people to kind of have this idea or understanding that resolutions don't work. I mean, they don't work if you don't make them work, And yeah, there is nothing magical about the first of the year necessarily, but just that little bit of momentum gets you the foot in the door to start trying new stuff, different stuff. I mean, if you're really motivated to doing something and you gotta wait till the first of the year and that just gets your energy up so you can do it. I mean, even if you don't do it every day of the year or whatever, think of how much you do, when you're actually doing something versus would you just say, oh, like, I'm not going to make a plan or goal around that. It's almost like saying I can't do it, or maybe you're not ready to do it sometimes, which is fine too. But quality of life, sometimes ties into personal goals too. Not always, but I mean, sometimes there's stuff out of our control. If you live in an environment in your house or the area you live in, if it's just not ideal, or if your house physically itself is like not structurally sound and needs a lot of repairs, and it's raining and your roof is leaking and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, that kind of stuff is going to impact the quality. And impacting the quality of your energy levels, your stress levels, you got to think about what that looks like. I've looked at my, content consumption and realized, I really don't like a lot of action movies. I mean, sometimes I do. I really don't like a lot of just movies about people going through a lot of hardships and pain and struggles, like slavery, or all the modern day kind of like people who are becoming refugees and things like that. It's like I've had times in the recent past where I was consuming a lot of that content and it really affected me, and I was like, man, I need to like really be careful. Because it's like, okay, if I can't really sleep properly, or if I'm a little stressed out now from thinking about all that kind of information, and then it's like that's unnecessary for me to be stressed about. But I'm not saying it's not important to kind of know history or know, current events of what's going on for different communities of people. It's very important, but sometimes it's like you can learn and know, and then other times it's like you can take it pretty far and keep diving into it to a point where you're like overwhelmed. That affects your quality of your day. It says, by affirming our self-worth and confidence in our ability to succeed and triumph in righteous struggle. So success, guys. Self-worth. What does your self-worth look like? What does your confidence look like? What is success like for you? What is triumph like for you? And how do you get past the struggle? We're in a constant battle. It's just a lot of times it's like once you've got your basics cared for, that's when you start planning for your future. Make a strategy for it. And, don't just be like, okay, now that I got my basics taken care of, I can just sit, rest, veg out, not do anything. That's not, yeah, sometimes we need that rest. You might need like a few weeks, a few months to just kind of like take care of your health, mental health, everything. That's important too, of course. So if that's what the rest is looking like, it's like, that makes sense. But if it's just literally like, you could do more stuff, but it's like, I'd rather watch Netflix, I'd rather do nothing. That approach isn't going to build you from whatever foundation you have laid. Like, once you get a foundation laid, you want to build from there, so that if something comes up, you're not pushed back to the previous position of kind of just that constant struggle to get your ends meeting, and staying in that stress cycle. You want to get out of it, and then once you get out of it, you want to stay out of it and build up so that you have that cushion. A lot of times is going to be financial, for a lot of people, because that kind of determines not your happiness, but the quality of what, how your needs are getting met. So if you really don't have any money ever, it's going to affect your housing. It's going to affect the quality of food you get to eat. It's going to affect the comfort of living. It's going to affect your stress levels. It's going to affect your health. It's going to affect everything. If you can pay for all those things, all those basic needs, and then if you have people around you that are like of sound mind and aren't like abusive, bad people around you, you're usually going to be set up for potential success. And success doesn't necessarily mean being rich, driving a Bugatti or whatever, like Lambo, whatever. Like that doesn't really equal success. Like, you can have all those kind of physical things, rings, watches, necklaces that cost $30,000, $16,000, like whatever, a house that's worth $3 million, and still not be happy internally. You could still have no sense of community and have all that stuff. Or you might have community and attract people that are only around you because you have all that stuff. And so, you gotta pay attention, with relationships with people. Is it a give and take, Like, sometimes it's not very clear, but sometimes, when you kind of just drop off a little bit, you'll notice, like, who hits you up, who's like, hey, how have you been? Hey, how are you doing? Hey, haven't heard from you in a while. You know, if you're one of those people who goes out and you buy everybody a picture, you pay for the whole table, you pick everybody up, you're very generous, and then you disappear one day, you stop making plans, who hits you up? Who's like, hey, are you okay? Did you get sick? Are you doing all right? Do you want to talk on the phone? Do you want to hang out? Who hits you up? You know, you'll notice sometimes in those situations, some people, you know, they'll be generous and think, oh, I have all these friends, I have all these people around me. But, you know, are the people really caring? Do they really hit you up? You know, I think about that when I moved from San Diego. It's like I moved and then thinking, you know, oh, there's all these people that are going to want to still hang out. And then, you know, a lot of them never, still to this day, have never once sent me a message, hey, what's up, nothing. No happy birthday, no happy new year, no Merry Christmas, no nothing. They're just kind of like doing their own thing. And, you know, people that I've hung out with on a very regular basis, you know, and it's like, okay, you can kind of see, okay, maybe we weren't really as connected, you know. Maybe we were just kind of, we saw each other, but, you know, it wasn't anything. Like, they don't really seem to care how I'm doing or what's going on. You know, haven't heard from him in like a year or so. Or I'll come to town and I'll see him, and then they'll kind of be like, oh, let's hang out, oh, let's do something. Like, okay. And then they never want to make an effort. So, I don't know. Like, you see that too. But just be careful, you know, because sometimes once you have things kind of settled and you're like, okay, like, get this community, you know, and sometimes it's fine though. It's fine to have like casual friends and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes you don't really know who those people are until you kind of like take a step back. I'm not saying play games, but until you kind of take a step back a little bit and you're like, all right, I'm just gonna like chill and like not really make plans or anything, and you know, see who eventually like messages you or contacts you, like thinks about you at all, you know. Sometimes, you know, you'll have people that you maybe thought were close and they don't even want to try to make any effort, you know. And then there's other times where, you know, there's people who will, you know, message you. Sometimes there's like random people that you're like, oh, I didn't even know that this person even cared. And then they will reach out and just say hi every so often. And then there's other people that, you know, you have no idea that you have no idea that they were never gonna like try to talk to you again. So sometimes moving or just taking a step back, you can kind of evaluate kind of what community looks like, you know. I don't know. Some people are really bad at keeping in touch too, and it doesn't mean they don't like you, but some people just aren't very good at, you know, trying to keep in touch with everybody else. So that happens too. But yeah, when it comes to success, you know, you want to have community too. You know, you know, what's the point of having success in a bubble and having no one around and having no one to share it with? You know, and people kind of feed off of other people's success. Not saying that they'll take advantage. I'm just saying, like, if you're around someone who just got a degree, who just got a certification, who just finished some big goal of theirs, even if it's not a school or work related goal, maybe they finished a weight loss goal or something that shows that they're more successful in a certain level than they were before. When you're around somebody like that, a lot of times it'll rub off and you'll start getting more motivated. Like, have you noticed when you're around people that don't have goals and don't have any plans in life and they kind of just want to stay where they're at? And especially if they're struggling and want to just stay where they're at, it's like you don't really get too pumped up about that. Like when you see people starting companies and switching into better jobs and maybe able to get a better apartment or move from their family and move to where they want to move. Someone who was always taking the bus and now they're able to afford a used car or something, you get a little motivated by that. That rubs off. And so just success in a bubble, it's like, in a way, it's not letting your light shine. I'm not saying like bragging and stuff, but it's important too, if you have success, to just be able to be with others too, just the energy of it rubs off. So coming into this new year, ending out Kwanzaa, what do you guys think? What are you feeling? Was it helpful? Did you kind of see, Kwanzaa has a lot to do with the internal stuff and community as well. Just trying to make communities stronger, whatever those communities look like, making them stronger, building up ourselves, and making the community stronger. That's pretty much almost every day focused on something like that. And a lot of times we're so focused like internally and individually, we're not focused on how's this going to affect my family, how's this going to affect my friends, how's this going to affect my relationships. It's usually like, the focus usually is like, okay, this is what I want, I'm going to do it, I'm not saying that you have to give completely of yourself too all the time to a point that you're never getting what you want. I mean, that's not even either. It's not balanced either. Some people do believe that. They're like, well, this person isn't just giving to me and giving and giving and giving. And it's like, yeah, man, like, they don't owe you that, They've got their own life too. Nobody really owes you. Even if you did give to someone, and expecting something in return, they don't owe you. Nobody owes you. Maybe you did someone a solid. That's very common. You do someone a solid long term. Maybe you took them to school every day for like a whole school year. You carpooled with them. You never asked them to pay for gas, nothing. And then you think, okay, my car broke down. They have a car now. They're going to do me a solid and give me rides to work for a month. Like, no, they can say no. They might not want to do it. They don't owe you. Like it's maybe kind of, I would say it's kind of, it's tricky, like, but, sometimes people just keep their resources to themselves. And that's what that looks like, They'll ask everyone else for help, and then they'll never give help to anybody else. And they don't have to, but that's how they decide to use community. They use it to their own advantage. And then, people kind of catch on to that too, though. Nobody owes anybody, but also it's like if you're not a team player, people kind of catch on to that too, and they're kind of like, this person's selfish, like, so I don't know, like it's a lot to think about. Kwanzaa's a cool holiday. It's a lot to connect to, a lot to reflect on. I feel like each topic almost needs like 2 or 3 days or a week or something to actually work it out. But especially because it's so busy, and Kwanzaa is in the middle of another holiday period. So it's kind of a little bit hard sometimes to do that. But it's nice to have a different focus outside of like spending money buying gifts and focusing on spending all this money traveling and who's got what Christmas trees and what New Year's Eve party are we going to. It's like, that stuff is fun. There's nothing wrong with having fun, but at the end of the day, those days come and go. What did I get out of the New Year's Eve party if I went to the club and just brought in the new year and had some champagne and came home? It's like that wasn't very reflective for me. Maybe part of it was. Maybe you were having conversations with people. Maybe you met up for a pregame and talked about your resolutions or something. Like, maybe it was productive. But usually, like, those kind of partying things, they're not productive. They're fun, and it's good to have fun, but it's like, Kwanzaa kind of is a very productive holiday versus most holidays. They're not all that productive. You're there for the party and the food and, the movies and the games. But do you connect to people? Do you share, with people kind of your interests, what you're struggling with, what barriers are coming up? I'm not saying overwhelm people with your problems, but do you share those with people? Do people share those with you? Do you kind of try to give each other tips and just listen if people don't want to hear any kind of advice? How do you approach it? How do we approach these things in a community? Because usually during, these holidays is when you realize I do have a sense of community, or I don't have a sense of community. And it's kind of hard. Certain holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas, a lot of times people might not invite you over. Like, there's certain holidays that are more casual. Like, you can do Valentine's Day with friends. You can do, New Year's Eve, usually New Year's Day, Halloween, if you do Halloween, the 4th of July. There's all kind of holidays that are like, Super Bowl, if you want to call that a holiday. There's all kind of holidays where you can just get together with friends. And then there's other holidays that are very, very family-based. And so sometimes when it's those very, like, family-based holidays, particularly Thanksgiving and Christmas, the people who don't have family nearby or family that they want to see, they're going to have a hard time, with that kind of holiday. And sometimes you don't, like, I don't have this space. I have the space, but I don't have the ability to just invite anybody over for any holiday because it's not my house. So even if I would want certain friends to come over and I know they have no place to go, I can't invite them over because it's not my house. So, my family likes to do their own thing for those holidays. They don't really want to be bothering too much with a bunch of other people. So, so that's about it. I hope you guys have a good remainder of your hours of Kwanzaa coming into the new year, first day of the new year. Hopefully, if you had a pretty wild New Year's Eve, you were able to recover from it. I chilled. I watched Barbie and I watched Elvis, and we ate pizza and bison burger meat, and I was happy with that. I didn't need more. I'm good. So yeah. All right, guys. Happy New Year. Happy end of Kwanzaa.